Hey guys, welcome back to Cadence RC. Hey, so today I've been gonna go through a little bit of what I've been doing with this with my SCX10 III. This is what the Wrangler. It's funny. I always think of Wrangler as a two-door. I always have thought of a longer Jeep Wrangler type vehicle as a scrambler, and so I always have a hard time calling this a Wrangler, but they're calling it a Wrangler. Anyway. I've done a bunch of work on this vehicle to try and get some sort of competition worthiness out of it, to be able to crawl rocks and still compete, but then also keeping it in a manner that is, would still be good for a trail rig. And it didn't take that much, but it's been harder to get this video made and pieced together than I really ever had anticipated. Like I say, my main goal was to maintain that trail worthiness and be able to enter. We've been allowing these 2.75 inch or 4.75 inch tires in our C1 class here at our local RC space. And typically that's a 4.19 inch class, so a smaller tire class. And it's actually, I don't know, I guess that kind of bumps me out. I didn't even realize that because, they were just allowing us to use these in the C1 class. But it really, I had never thought about it, but the classifications really need to change because right now they very much exclude ready-to-run vehicles from competition. And I think that competition is so important because it gives us something to do with our vehicles, right? So, buying this and going and driving it around in the yard or finding a trail and walking with it, or finding some rocks to crawl on, that's fine. But I really like for my RC stuff to be done with other people. It's something that I enjoy spending time with other people doing. And it's funny because I'm kind of a loner type of person. When I was a snowboarder, I would ride for the first half of the day alone because I liked that alone time and riding the snowboard by myself, but I love spending time with my friends doing this RC stuff. I would like to see some change in how those classes work, because I think this car is at such a disadvantage with this hard body and high center of gravity as a C2 class RC crawler. I mean, C2 allows for insane setups as far as the capabilities of the vehicle. This thing, if you keep it like this, it's never going to be insane. So you're just going to be last, which that sucks some of the fun out of it. I think running in the C2 class or C1 class seems fair to me. Anyway, moving on from that, my little soapbox. So things that I did to this to get the performance that I was looking for from it. I wanted to see a significant improvement in performance, and I kept it. I started out by just kind of doing some stuff with I relocated the shocks. Let me pull this body. I actually already got it disconnected. So when I very first started out, I relocated the shock position on these, and you're not going to be able to see this, but I went to the top most forward hole, front and rear. They go in the top center is the stock location for the shocks. I went top forward, gives it a little bit more articulation, so a little bit better performance. I had to redo the oils in it. I went with 35 weight shock oil just because it's something I had plenty of, and it seemed to make sense. It seemed to be working really well. So that was, kind of the most basic things as far as setting this thing up to be more trail and competition worthy. I should have started out by ripping out all the plastics, but one of the things that I did end up doing is I took off all the ancillary plastics on the interior. So C1 class, again, I think that it's the rules are a little bit weird, but typically a C1 class has got to have all the floorboards, right? It's got to be a complete vehicle, and so I left all of that, but I did rip off the motor cover. There's a little fake fan shroud. For like your pulley system on the front of the motor. I'm trying to think of the other. I pulled off the battery tray in the back. I actually pulled the wings off the battery tray in the front, and I put a little piece of foam. So I'm running, I'm running this LIHV ProTech battery, so I still have tons of run time, but running a pretty small battery. I did run a piece of foam, so just kind of lock that thing in, and then I'm actually just using a leftover Endura battery strap to hold that battery into place. And that's actually, so that's got all my weight forward. I did actually also relocate. The factory location is up in here or no, it's actually attached to the ESC. You can't turn it on or off without pulling the body. And if you've dealt with one of these things, the clip system for them, getting everything aligned, they're not the easiest body to install. So using some, double-sided tape, I actually relocated the ESC, and then my little power switch, I relocated into the back here so that I can reach up inside from underneath and get to the switch. Just quality of life improvement, right? Just making it so that I can kind of put the body together, take it to wherever I'm going, reach underneath, turn it on, go drive. And I don't have to tear it apart everywhere I go in order to operate the thing. So that was, that saved a ton of weight off of the vehicle, just doing those things, just removing all those ancillary plastics. I left the body 100% alone, just because, again, I was trying to keep this thing as much as a C1 class RC crawler as I possibly could. The next thing that I did, I actually started out I replaced the steering knuckles on this guy with brass, which would be technically a C1. I do need to pull off these little guards. This truck, when I bought this used, and it came with all these little guards installed. And I took off the one in the back, and I took off the nose guard. But I'm going to go ahead and I'll probably pull these two off as well. They're not really very heavy, but technically they would be against a C1. And I'm going to keep doing quotation marks because this doesn't qualify because of the tire size, which is really frustrating to me. But yeah, these I would end up pulling off probably. I don't see them doing that much anyway, so I'm not really concerned about that. The next thing that I did is I tried running with the stock wheels. So I ran the stock wheels. I replaced the foams with the Endura. I did the medium tire foams, which I think the mediums for a trail rig are perfect. I would definitely go to the softs for a competition rig. They're a little bit firmer than what you would want for a competition crawler. And it's funny. I watched lots of videos, but sometimes I don't know. I should trust people more than I do, but I didn't trust the outcomes that people were giving, and I kind of decided to go ahead and go with. That's the recommendation based on the weight of this vehicle. These weigh between, I think, 7.5 and 9 pounds roughly for this. It's quite heavy now with these upgrades that I made. Anyway, and the tire inserts I think were rated for between like 5.5 or 6 pounds and 10 pounds. So kind of this range of where this thing weighs. Again, I think as a competition rig, I would go with a softer tire. For a trail rig, I would stick right with the medium inserts. So the thing that I found with the stock wheels is the rings that help hold them together, because they're a 3-piece, clamp-on style wheel, right? The rings are quite tall, and when I put them in here, it made these inserts really stiff in the center part of it. So I lost a ton of the squish out of the tire with those original rings. So I did end up buying some aluminum wheels to throw on here, and that really helped with the squish. It also was the step that it needed, because I was finding that performance-wise, when I took it out on the trail, doing the steering knuckles and taking out the plastics and putting in the inserts, it was better. But it wasn't a marked improvement. It wasn't like, oh wow, that was way better, I'm glad I did that. It was sort of like, man, I just wasted a lot of money on parts. When I changed to the aluminum wheels, it obviously added quite a bit of weight by going to those, but the performance of it now is actually astonishingly better than what it was. That was the legit change that this thing needed in order to be a better competition and crawler than how it came from the factory. So all of those things to lower that center of gravity and adding the weight together, with the wheels, the inserts. Those inserts are quite heavy, heavier than the tires. yeah, this thing now I would say is a competent C1 class crawler, but I would not call this a C2 class crawler. So C2 class crawlers, you know, I did a little bit of digging on the rules for those, and these are all chassis mounted servos, and a lot of the RC car, you know, pretty much all of the ready to run stuff that has the resemblance to a real vehicle like this does, all your Jeeps and the Broncos and all those types of vehicles, they have a chassis mounted servo. And the C2 allows for an axle mounted servo, which is going to really help with, you know, you've got this panhard bar, right? So you got this bar right here that's part of the steering system, and I think that's what that's called, this panhard bar. Anyway, you get a lot of movement in the suspension because of that design and because of how high that servo ends up being. And then obviously your weight, of course, being this much higher up with that servo is a huge disadvantage. And so I'm like, man, if that's, I mean, to me, that's like a difference between a class. Because you throw a brass servo on the axle, that's a massive advantage for a C2 class. So I think the rules need to be written for that C1 class. It's something that's, yeah, that it needs to change, because the fact of the matter is that these types of vehicles need a home. And right now in competition, they do not have a home, and I don't think that's good for the RC community. Anyway, again, off my high horse. Let's go watch some video, and I'll show you guys some before and after mods. I didn't know how this video was going to work out, and so I shot, I'm going to guess I probably have 2 hours or 3 hours of video. I'm going to share, you know, my usual 3 or 4 minutes of video, but yeah, we'll show some before and after, maybe some middle shots of the performance difference to what this is. I might try and do some voiceover for the first time and show you how much better this thing performed with all of these upgrades over stock. Thing's gonna work really well. I made this. Who? Oh yeah, yeah, they're fun. It's funny because they're not like the racing. It's a different crowd. It's a different mentality. And I like the sort of, the rocks get moved around, right? But trying to see, you know, what it'll do on some of these same obstacles that I've run before. And like that obstacle wasn't that bad. This kind of changed right in here, and I can't really see this, so I'm gonna maybe struggle just a little bit. But look at that, it just drove right up that like it wasn't even a big deal. Our course, you know, we're still being allowed to use reverse fast, and it's laid back, and oh, nice. And having it be, you know, trying to keep it fun, keep it real. I've run these a few times, so I know that like running down this, I'm gonna roll, or I'm gonna have to throttle out. But I did make the first obstacle. There was a rock there that wasn't there today. I did not make this. I almost made nothing this last comp, because I'm like the only one running like a true like stock, right? Oh, right. And so yeah, I was just at a huge disadvantage, and so now I was thinking about buying the Coyote, the SCX10iii Coyote, which is like a competition version of this. Right. I don't know, I was thinking about it, and I'm like, you know, I already have that truck, and I can make it into a class 1 crawler. Okay, so it made that. Drive it up this way. That's funny. I didn't make that obstacle the first go around. It doesn't seem like much, but it's slightly different, the rocks in here, but not that much. And it just made that cartoonishly easy, which is, you know, it's kind of what I'm after, right? We came over here. Oop. I'm not good at driving this thing with one hand. This at least has a thumb steer, but I don't know what I'm doing. We did come over here. I just ran this, and I did not make it up this, but I was kind of curious. There's a line over here that we didn't run, and I was kind of curious, and so I ran it earlier. And this is kind of a cool line. So I'm just going to bring you guys up here. Let's see what it does on this. I'd love to see something like that, you know, as a C1 type obstacle, because it's doable, but it's hard. I'm wondering too if I can make it up here. Let's, what I'm thinking is maybe up this rock and to the right. I do need a stronger servo. That's one thing that I feel like I'm seeing. But yeah, adding these heavier wheels, it allowed adding the aluminum wheels allowed the inserts to work correctly, which was a huge improvement. I got a bee or wasp trying to check me out. Man. But yeah, it's seriously way more impressive than what I had. I was curious. Oh, I want to do this. So this was an obstacle. This was not part of the C1 obstacles. This doesn't look like much. I'm sure I've got you guys just swinging around like crazy. This doesn't look like much, and it's got all these big stones. It seems like it would be really easy to make. I've not made it up this with this truck, so I'm curious to see. Let's make sure you guys are still recording. Yeah. I'm curious to see if I can make it up this now, because these changes have been a significant improvement. Made it right up this with the C1, C2 class car, and I just made it right up it. That was hilariously easy. Again, it's this upgrade for this truck. It's a no-brainer. So those steering links, they were like $50. Those Endura inserts, I did the greens, I believe, mediums, and I probably would advise going to the lights. They were the ones recommended by Endura for the weight of the vehicle, and I think you could get away with the lights. I think they would probably perform even better. These wheels, I just picked up some cheap ones off of Amazon. I can't even, I'll have to look them up to tell you exactly which one, and I'll just add that to the text here. But, so that was an obstacle again on the C2 course. And it just, again, made that no problem, which is amazing, because now all of a sudden I'm looking at tackling things that were part of the much harder course. And I still have a driver, I still have, the full body. I haven't changed anything body-wise on this truck. I took all the plastics out of it. So anything that was ancillary, there's like a little motor cover on this chassis. I took that off. I took out the, what else did I take out? I took out the battery trays, except for the one that I'm using, which is just the smallest one. And I took out all the little exterior pieces of that. This was an obstacle that was part of, I would have hit the cone on this. I've actually made this with the other setups. But at least I can make it on that. I'm curious to run it over to this other course and see what it does on some of this. But yeah, if you're looking to maybe turn your C1 crawler, C1 class crawler into something more
those are probably the three biggest improvements. I was trying to find a significant improvement in performance. This was an obstacle that I did not make the very first time we did this, and I just made it up, which is amazing. But yeah, if I was, I was trying to do this with the absolute minimum of upgrades to the car, and I feel like this is kind of it. This has gotten me to the point where I feel like I have, look at that, it's so cool looking. It makes me feel like I have a really good quality crawler that I can still trail with. Looks wicked, looks like a real car, and can trail with some of these more purpose-built C1 class crawlers. I've toyed around with the idea of turning this into a C2 class car, and just by taking off some of the other plastics and getting a different body for it. So that might be something that happens down the line. I was looking over here at lines too before I call this done. I'm trying to do this one-handed and not break my legs. This would just be fun to find some cool lines, and maybe help these guys design some courses for these vehicles, because some of them I think have been maybe a little too hard. I'm curious. So this was the last obstacle of the C2 course at our last event. We went up this little channel and to the left, and I actually made this yesterday. Mind you, I think it was pretty lucky. I'm curious if I can make it again today. So it would have gone up right here, along here. Treat this like I'm in a comp. Yeah, see if I can get it to turn over. Let's try one more time before we abandon this thing. Oh, I'm getting closer. If I can... I'm learning some things as I've been playing around out here. I think I might not make this one today. I couldn't believe when I made it yesterday. Oh, look at that, I made it.
All right, yeah, so yeah, watching the video, like I said, my goal, my intention was to make this into something that I felt like was competent as a competition vehicle, and I do feel like I obtained that. I do feel like what this thing is now, like I could show up to a competition and be able to run not at the front, because I think that some of these purpose-built C1 class cars will smoke this thing no matter what. I don't think they will. I know they will. I've watched them do it. But at least I wouldn't be last, right? At least I would be able to do the obstacles. I've done 3 competitions now with this vehicle, and I can tell you that the first one I did, I had to run it in C2, and one course I made all but one obstacle, I believe, but I think everybody pretty much made all those obstacles. The other course I made maybe 3 out of 10, and so it was pretty rough. It was pretty annoying. I just hand of Godded that thing everywhere I went, so I at least finished the course. But that's no way to go crawling. Anyway, yeah, these upgrades really did make this thing do a huge improvement. Give you an idea of cost. The steering knuckles that I bought some nice ones. They were $50 for the set of those, and I think cheap ones are $40, $35. So it's not like they're kind of in that price range of what they cost anyway. The tires, the wheels, I just bought some basic aluminum wheels off of Amazon. I kind of did it in a hurry because I was trying to do something and get some content out, and so these were like $30, I think they were $28 on Amazon. And then those inserts are like $19. Again, ultra softs, the softer insert would be better for a competition vehicle. I really do think this is the perfect insert for a trail vehicle. Anyway, I can't wait to see you guys in the next video.